Okay, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, a disclaimer that I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal expert, and what all I am presenting in next 10 minutes is basically a synthesis of number of lawyers, legal experts, experts from WHO, UNICEF, Deakin University, University of Liverpool, and many, many stakeholders. So in case I make a mistake, please pardon. We have already heard, and I think I'll take the last statement from Nupu's last slide, that we need comprehensive laws. So I won't go into the details of why we need law, why we need regulations, and there are multiple key publications, global reports, peer-reviewed papers, and especially the Lancet series, which was recently published, clearly underscores that laws regulating unhealthy food marketing are ineffective and an evidence-based intervention, and it's high time we have strong laws. The question arises, why law? Because Nupur already shared a list of regulations and policies that do exist in India that help us to protect our children from marketing of unhealthy foods and beverages. So why law? Why law? Because we have very, very strong evidence from tobacco industry, the alcohol battle, the breast milk substitute battle, that actually it's the enforceable law that really changes the corporate behavior. Voluntary commitments many times fail or they partially succeed. That's challenging. And I think one of the statements that we take from the Lancet series is also that Lancet series also explicitly frames ultra-processed food as a commercially driven epidemic. And it really calls countries to have clear legal duties, accountability mechanism, and protection from the industry interference. So very briefly, in next few minutes, I'll be talking about a recent toolkit which was released by UNICEF headquarters on 17th of December. It's available online and it's a live tool. There are a lot of steps, there are a lot of toolkits, spotlights, case studies that can help a country, and especially a country like India, to really develop a robust law to protect our children. Basically, this tool helps us to translate the public health evidence into a legally operational rules. So why this toolkit? I won't go into the details. I think all the speakers really talked about what are the challenges our kids, youth, and even adults are facing. And we really need a toolkit which can help us to draft a really operational law which is robust and can help us. What is happening is that we do have some regulatory systems, laws, policies, but they are largely designed for the traditional media. We saw in the previous two presentations that the bombardment that's happening due to different multiple channels is very different from the traditional media that we were exposed when we were kids. Brands, mascots, advert games, 10 minutes delivery apps, social medias, and all these are all algorithm-driven ecosystem. I will see something very different at 10 a.m., the advertisement that I am bombarded, compared to somebody else who says the same channel at 10 a.m., but the advertisement bombardment is completely different. Evidence also show that most of the countries have very fragmented voluntary or industry-led codes. And they largely focuses on advertisement, but not really the marketing ecosystem, which is really vast. Advertisement is just a very small piece. So what we need is, what is happening is that we have a lack of legally robust and future-proof regulation to really tackle this dynamic ecosystem. A good feature about this toolkit is that this toolkit is grounded on the Convention of the Rights of the Child and the Constitution. The right of the child for health, development, or nutrition. It also shifts the whole debate that the accountability of making a decision is on the consumer choice. No, it's on the government's obligation also. We cannot leave all the decision making only at the consumer level. Laws, regulations, and government policies are equally important. It also shifts the debate from the parental responsibility to a corporate accountability as well. Industry has to respond to changing dynamics. I won't go to the left side of the toolkit, which really talks about what this toolkit does, but I really want to focus on one key point, is that The beauty of this toolkit is that it really promotes progressive implementation. And what do we mean by that is that it's not very prescriptive in nature. This tool is not blind to the reality. We do understand different countries have different policies, regulations, different ecosystems supporting or not supporting the decision making. And this toolkit is practical. It provides a graduated step-by-step process that country can take depending upon the existing laws, regulations, and commitment. Very briefly, I won't go into the depth of the tool, but this whole tool is divided into 4 phases. It provides a good grounding of first, the definition is important. Until we define clear definition of each and every word, which is important for any law for that matter, we can't have a very broad, robust law. Second is the legal design. So it gives a choice of different kind of laws that country can adopt. What will be the best depending upon the country context. No law can work. It also gives a very clear indication of who does what in a law framework, so that accountability mechanism is there. And of course, no law can work or really even begin to work if we have a very strong evaluation and an evaluation system, including sunset clauses. What we mean by sunset clauses is like expiry date of anything that is put as a law, because the ecosystem is changing. I think that is a very important thing. The good part about the law is the ease in which the the toolkit is drafted is that it can be used by ministries, because most of the public health people are not lawyers. The toolkit also gives a emphasis on restrictions and not just partial bans. What we mean is that the toolkit really wants countries that just not have time-based restrictions alone. These separate alone mechanisms will not have. We need complementary measures. Only media-specific bans will not work. Rather, it encourages that focus on systems and locations. For example, where children are. Don't chase on different platforms, but the different ecosystem. Where are the children? What really pursues the children? And then what kind of platforms are available to reach to them, whether it's school-based regulations, sports, digital spaces, and especially digital spaces, very important in context of India. Very briefly, this toolkit also talks about how we can, it really warns around industry participation in rule making, which is something that we have been discussing since morning. How public-private partnerships can play a role in standard setting. And overall, this toolkit is very important for a country like India and other low middle income countries, because countries like us do have ecosystems where we have corporate litigation, theft, trade pressure. So very briefly taking you through, this is how the toolkit looks if you go to the link. And these all links are hyperlinked where it provides small step-by-step process. I would only focus on the steps in my next slide, sorry. So this whole step is divided into 4 phases, and there are around 13 steps. And if you see, each of the steps is hyperlinked to a separate document where toolkits, case study, even draft, policy briefs and all are uploaded. And as I said, it's a live tool. It will be kept on updating as and when more resources are available. So very briefly, next 2 slides. Looking forward, how this toolkit will strengthen government action. There are guidance available in the toolkit, not only for government, but even for civil societies, public health experts, and very important, the legal fraternity. I'll only focus on the government. As I said, the whole toolkit helps us to move from a piecemeal, small activities to a very comprehensive systematic regulation. And having a law is the first step, because then you bring the accountability measure on how to execute the law. The draft laws that this toolkit helps to develop are ensured to make enforceable, defensible, and adaptable. It is also important that all the laws that we draft are talking in sense to the existing public health policies and guidelines and programs that exist. So for example, in India, it must talk to the NCD regulations and strategies, regulations around consumer protection laws, digital governance, and many others. The whole idea of having this toolkit is that let's move from the thought process of asking for a better policy to really demanding a legal compliance for protecting our children for marketing of unhealthy food, which is really increasing tremendously. To end, what I want to say is that I think it was very timely of this toolkit to come right after the Lancet series release. This toolkit basically helps us or any country to really operationalize the key findings of the Lancet series, and especially calls actions for regulatory actions, corporate accountability, and protection from the public policy space. Towards the end, I would just take a minute to share that thanks to a seed grant from RTSL, the Resolve to Save Lives, UNICEF in India and RTSL will be using this toolkit to really understand the legal policy space in India in terms of marketing of unhealthy food. We will be also working with National Institute of Cancer Prevention and Research to really understand what kind of social media impact or exposure the kids are being exposed to in India. Thank you. And I'm happy to see some of the lawyers in the group. It's very rare, but I think we need to find out more opportunities to really work with legal fraternity. We have got their support in the war of whether it was breast milk substitute, alcohol and tobacco, and we need your help for the ultra processed food as well. Thank you.